Hello there, lovely people. This is me, Ashley, here, sending my love to you from whatever reality I'm in today to whatever reality you happen to find yourself in. Well, as you can see by the actual title of this video, I feel like I've been abducted and brought to another dimension. It's the best way I can describe it. That's how it feels to me, because I really feel no real connection to this place. It's not mine. I don't belong here. I'm fighting, like a lot of you are online, trying to get people to wake up and understand the nuances that are going on underneath this coronavirus nonsense. It's hard work. It's very hard work trying to not get bogged down by the general public who believe that their government couldn't possibly ever want to harm them. And on the other side of that, we're living in such evil time, an evil place. It's evil. I just feel it's evil. I feel I call for zero. Yes, very early morning. I can't sleep. It's hardly surprising. I don't think many of us are very much at the moment. But I feel like I've been abducted from what's got me feeling like this is that I went to the supermarket earlier on and they were playing a song from my childhood. My childhood, when the world was the world and life was magical, and I could never ever have imagined this. And my original Orion, where I come from, my original world, was so very, very different to this. And before I actually knew about the Mandela Effect, what it was, I remember saying to people, what the fuck's gone on in the last 2 years? Why is everywhere suddenly so full of hate? You know, why are people behaving like this? I couldn't really understand what had gone on. And I still don't. Hi, Don. Big love right back to you. So, that original Orion home, I feel like I was abducted from it against my will and brought to a place that is so vile, so entrenched in misery and hate and but it's not just the coronavirus thing and everything that goes with that. It's everything else. It's the downright hatred of people, the hatred towards one another, the still fighting left and right nonsense when it's still wings of the same bird in the middle. It's two sides, two wings of the same bird in the middle. Woke people still fighting about like oh, I just can't. We want to stop all that bollocks. We really do. We want to concentrate on fighting the elite. Look at the world that we're living in. Look at the world that we're being dragged from whether you're a Sagittarius, a Perseus, or an original Orion like me. We used to think it was complicated back home. We used to think life was bad back home. But we had no idea we could be here like this in the blink of an eye, in this rancid place where paedophiles are seen as having, it's a condition, it's either a condition or it's an allowed sexual preference. It seems that that's the way they're trying to push paedophilia as being an accepted sexual orientation. Now, I've just been looking up sexual orientation and gender, and I wanted to know exactly how many genders there are, and it ranges between, I think, 58 and 72. And I got the disturbing news that in 2014, in this reality, in 2014, Facebook published 58 choices of gender that you can identify as. Now, that's not from my reality. 2014, nothing like that happened. None of this happened. Children weren't encouraged to be either sexual or indeed know what gender was. Never mind actually think I'm in the wrong one to change it to another one. They weren't encouraged to do those things. When did those things become normal? Because they weren't normal in my reality. I'm fairly sure they weren't normal in an awful lot of yours either. This dimension reality change thing. We've been abducted from our own quite peaceful, loving, caring homes, by which meaning home reality, to this vile place, where the sexualization of children is ever more prevalent, where Facebook won't remove pages or profiles of paedophiles or profiles of incest. They're not removing those, but they're removing doctors who disagree with the COVID narrative of the World Health Organization. The fact that I actually watched the film. No, I didn't watch the film. I actually watched about 20 minutes of the Netflix program Cuties. And I cannot believe, I don't know who that's aimed at, but it started off by disrespecting Muslims' idea of a woman being modestly dressed. And then it went on, the next scene was showing a girl, an 11-year-old girl, shaking her arse, doing her laundry. It was vile. The whole thing was vile. The girls were talking, this is all within 20 minutes, the girls were talking about pissing in somebody's throat. They were talking about, I can't even talk about it. It's that vile. I can't even talk about it. And this is, when asked to defend it, the actual director, who was a woman, said it was empowering and feminism. It was empowering and feminism. Well, you can stick that feminism up your fucking arse, love, because it isn't from my reality. It isn't where I want my reality going. It isn't the reality I want my grandchildren growing up in, where the sexualization of children is seen as the norm and empowering. How is that empowering 11-year-olds? 11-year-olds are being empowered, are they, by twerking and shaking their arse for adult entertainment in this case? And this world it's degenerate and vile, and we don't belong here. And I'm quite sure you guys feel like you don't belong here. I don't like this dimension. It's already so very, very, very evil. It makes my skin crawl. I'm trying to fight the COVID thing. I'm trying to live in a world where I've got to go and buy my bread and all my normal stuff, and I'm seeing things change on the shelf. That, you know, you're seeing that kind of thing while trying to live. You're trying to live a normal life in an ever-changing reality, which is shifting us into worlds that are ever more demonic and vile and evil. And I don't understand how people aren't standing up and shouting about it more, when there were between 58 and 72 different genders, how people identify themselves as a gender all this way and encouraged to do so. You know what? I'm a live and let live kind of person. My first husband was a gay man. I have absolutely no problem with gay people. My daughter is bisexual. I don't have a problem with that as a personal choice. My heart goes out to you. But when did we go from giving gay couples the much deserved rights within the law of, marriage, being a couple? Because before, when gay couples lived together, and they could have lived together for 50 years and one of them died, the other one had no right to the house they're living in or anything. Obviously that had to change, but we've gone from that to, oh, and also another thing, it's called, they're called, it's transgender now, when in fact back in the day it used to just be called they were just called a transvestite if you put a dress on. And let's not forget, most of the people that claim to be transgender nowadays, 20% of those, only 20% of those actually go the whole way. But suddenly we're supposed to share bathrooms and, in fact, hospital wards with people that claim to be transgender while still having a penis in a ward with women getting erections. That's supposed to be perfectly acceptable, and it's against their rights as a woman who identifies as a woman. It's just gone mad. It's gone mad. And I feel it's all happening against my will. I feel like I've been abducted and taken to a very, very dark, dark, evil place that is just getting worse by the second. No, and Don, I've got a 13-year-old grandson, a 3-year-old granddaughter, and another one on the way, and it scares me. Put it this way, my eldest daughter, when she was 9, she wanted to have a sex change. She didn't want to be a woman. She didn't want to be a teenager because she knew that boobs had grown things. She wanted to have a sex change. But obviously that changed when she actually hit puberty. Because just because she didn't identify in common with the girls around her, you know, she preferred to play football with boys, and she didn't really have anything in common with girls. But obviously once she became a girl, you know, a woman, once puberty started, the last thing she wanted to do was change her gender. But nowadays, they'd have had her having tablets at the age of 9, and I would have been seen as a neglectful mother if I didn't take her to go and do that. They're messing with our children. They're trying to androgynize our children in this reality. Why have we been brought to this reality? This vile, where we clearly don't belong, where we don't come from, where we don't identify with. We don't identify with any of this shit. It's not my world, it's not your world. And it worries me. Where are we going next? What's happening next? There doesn't seem to be any end to this. I'm not feeling an end coming close. I'm just feeling worse and worse and worse about what we're heading into. And knowing about all the, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand about end times and so many things, prophecies are coming into fruition at the minute. I know that. Israel are talking about their top rabbis are in talks with the Messiah. I mean, so I'm aware of Bible prophecy and all of that stuff. I'm aware it's all written. But let's face it, how many of us actually believe that this would be going on, like the Mandela Effect, would actually be happening at end times? How many of us thought that it meant this? Truly, did you actually ever think that it would mean reality changes? Did you? Because I didn't. I didn't think end times would be this. I mean, it says we move. You see, it says the good get moved to the new world, but I'm not worthy of that shit. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that shit, but I'm not worthy of that. I'm not. And I think anybody who thinks they are, that kind of proves you're not, really. I don't understand smug born-again Christians that think that they've got a clean slate and they're on the way. Because I remember watching, and I was a born-again Christian when I was in my teens. I've talked about this a lot. I watched, in fact, I had it shown at my high school, and I had it triple X rated because it was about end times, and it scared the living shit out of me because it literally showed people disappearing at the blink of an eye with the rapture. But it was priests and people that thought that they were untouchable that were left behind. And the message was quite clear that, you know, even though you might think that you're good enough and been saved and good enough to do, to, you know, to be raptured and not have to go through Armageddon and not have to go through hell. You know, not everybody does. And quite frankly, I know we've talked about Bosra, I've heard about Bosra, but to me, Bosra is a Mandela effect anyway. It was never in the Bible before. The Bible's changing. So much of the Bible's changing. What does that actually mean? Why have I been abducted and placed here? Well, in fact, placed here, it's like forever changing into a more and more vile, evil society. It beyond worries me. I have so much going on in my mind. So very much going on in my mind. But this isn't the rapture. This is not the rapture. As far as Bosra's concerned, you see, this is why I need... Oh, and I need to talk more seriously about this, about the Bosra scenario. I need to learn a bit more about it. But to me, we're not being untouched by it. We're going through it. We're seeing it. We're not being hidden from it. It's not being hidden from us. We're slap bang in the middle of it. Slap bang in the middle of it all, aren't we? It's not like we've been led somewhere to a safe place. We're slap bang in the middle of it. And I'm at a loss. I'm at an absolute loss. Because I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I prayed, I pray to God, I call out to him. I ask for forgiveness. I mean, like the other day, you know, I don't do naming names, but there's a channel that I got quite into. I mean, some of the things that she said were pretty good. Other things were like really way out there. And I thought she just saw robots and synthetic people in everybody and everything. But she actually brought up the Mandela Effect in one of her little things. And she claimed that we're not real people, that we're synthetics. And I'm like, excuse me? Really? Really? She's clearly not looked into anything about the Mandela Effect or any residue or anything like that. She's just decided that because she's a Christian, very much a Christian. Her title says that she's a Christian. But she's obviously a Christian that isn't Mandela affected. Therefore, we're all synthetics and we're part of the devil. So she hasn't actually properly looked into the Mandela Effect. And, you know, what is wrong with people that do that? Why? Why? You know, at least look properly. You know, you're that busy thinking, you're that busy putting out stuff that you know. But if you look at the majority of us Mandela affected people, we never say that we know. We don't know for sure anything at all at any given point, because it changes all the time. And we've realised that being Mandela affected, that we don't really know anything anymore. So there she is, giving it large about how we're just synthetic people, without tackling any of the residue, any things that we say. We've had our consciousness removed into synthetic people, all of us. That's what's happened, according to her. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that theory at all, love. In fact, I don't agree with that theory so much, I unsubbed and came away from her, because look, you can differ with me on many subjects, you know what I mean? I don't mind, really don't mind if you agree with what I think and believe. It hasn't got a problem with me. But if you're not Mandela affected and you're going to start giving it large about disrespecting us, being devil worshippers, being synthetic people, I'm going to unsubscribe from that shit, because I don't need you in my life. I don't need that negativity in my life. That is one area where I will not allow anybody to disrespect what I'm going through. because it's not easy to go through. So having some arsehole tell you that they know that you're a synthetic person clearly without having done any research whatsoever on the subject of the Mandela Effect, whilst spouting out about what, because her channel's all about God. It's all about God and seeing the evil all around the world. And don't get me wrong, I know how deep and how evil things go. I mean, this is something with the world is full of newly awake people who don't know anything yet and they think they do. So it's really, 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 really difficult trying to put out tiny, tiny bits of information for them, because I've always had this feeling, even as a born-again Christian when I was a teenager, that I wouldn't be raptured, though I was supposed to be here fighting on the side of good, on the side against the evil, and here I am doing that very thing. But I didn't expect the whole bloody reality to change. Didn't expect that bit, and nobody expected that bit. I don't think any of us expected it to mean our reality would change day by day. There's 2 buildings across the road from me. I think I'll do a small actual video and show you tomorrow. They looked exactly the same at one point, whereas one of them's now got made of brick instead of sandstone. I'll show you that tomorrow. But so trying to live with the Mandela Effect, and you've got arseholes telling you that you're synthetic people. I just wish they'd leave it alone, because it doesn't get any easier. Not psychologically. No, don't get me wrong, it does get easier psychologically. I'm not in that place where I was when I first made my channel. I'm not a snotty, distressed mess. Not most of the time anyway. I did have a moment, obviously, when I went back to visit my family. But I find living with the unaffected and the asleep so very difficult. My heart goes out to those of you that are living with family members that aren't awake in as much as the knowledge that you know, and they aren't Mandela affected. It's very difficult living amongst them, and I certainly find it very difficult. That was the last time I cried about the Mandela Effect, was through that. It's difficult when you have conversations and then the people that you've had the conversation with don't remember the conversation. Never happened. So you just end up looking like a complete dick. It is very hard, Dana. Yeah, hello, honey. Hello. I like that. I'm here to reveal the truth to the world. Yeah, I like that. I think that's basically what that's what I'm doing. That's all I can do. Whether people, I very nearly gave up, because I know it sounds a bit mad, but I do an awful lot of my crying to God when I'm in the bath. It's a very raw, emotional time. I don't know why. It's like very vulnerable, and I do quite a lot of, and I'm crying for like 8 billion people. And then you try and give them information and they don't want to listen to it. They're just lining up to have a vaccine. And it's really draining and soul destroying. And at one point I thought, fuck this, I can't do it anymore. I mean, I've been an activist in my other in my other life. I'm very much an activist. So I've been fighting against all kinds of things for quite some time now, but it's not on this level. And people that are just coming in, just beginning to understand that the world isn't what they've been told it is. You know, it's difficult for them as well, because sometimes they're feeling, but I know people that are feeling very, very, very overwhelmed, just like I did when I first found out some things. When I remember walking around Manchester, looking at the shops, thinking none of this is real. This is all make-believe. Because when I realised I'd been lied to so very deeply, I felt like I was living in the Matrix. And then the Mandela Effect happened. So, you know, I already thought I'd fallen down the rabbit hole, and found out that that was just the beginning. There was an abyss at the bottom of that rabbit hole. It turned into this shit. Oh, me too, Dana. Hugs, 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 honey. So I'm I do. I just feel like I've been abducted against my will. Brought to another dimension. You know, when, I mean, I watched all of these things in the 90s. I watched Sliders in the 90s. I watched Quantum Leap in the 90s. I watched Star Trek. I love all of that stuff. I'm quite a weird girl. I love my sci-fi. But they always had some kind of, maybe, you know, Sliders didn't have control, but they knew what was going on. Quantum Leap, he went into different people. He looked like it wasn't him in different realities being himself, but we were like being drip fed bits of information. But we didn't for a million years think it would be real. But the difference between those programs and this is that they all had some kind of fucking idea what was going on, and we have none. We've been abducted, taken from our home and everything that we know and love and have been brought up with, and is real, and it's who we are. It's who we are. It's not just the Mandela Effect. I've said it before. They're robbing us of us because they're telling us that the thing that makes you a person is the sum of your memories, the things you've done, the people you love, the moments you've had, the childhood songs, your sweets, your movies, your gran having blue or brown eyes but not having them anymore. All kinds of things are our anchor memories, are what make us us. And when they've taken all that away from us, they've abducted us and brought us to where, for what? It's hard. It's hard because I can't see any end in sight at the minute. And I know it's going to get worse. And part of me, I mean, I'm preparing for end times. I'm preparing to try and to leave. God knows where I'm going to go, but, and Britain's very small, so they'll find me quite quickly. But then that means leaving my family. But then it's just difficult. It's difficult living in such an evil world. I mean, in a few days' time, Facebook are going to be stopping us saying anything. They're going to be literally taking down our profiles without any warning, which means we lose at least a decade's worth of our family pictures and all the things that we hold dear. And being Mandela affected, it makes it even more important. So how am I going to do my activism? How are we going to reach those people if Facebook won't? And they already kind of don't let us anyway, because them frigging algorithms. Do you know what? Until a few years ago, I'll be honest, I don't really talk about it very much because I don't do bragging and bigging myself up. But on Facebook, I got 40,000 followers. I did have 43,000, but Facebook likes to take my followers and friends off me. I get messages all the time, where have you been, or why have you unfriended me, when I haven't done any such thing. So at one time, I used to get like 200, 300 people commenting on my posts. Now, if I get 20, it's a big event, because they're not letting it through on people's news feeds. So the things that we want people to get out and get to understand aren't being seen on Facebook anyway. So we kind of end up like preaching to the converted, really, talking to each other. And even then, most of you won't. I mean, I'm friends with a few of you on Facebook now. I did put a community thing up to a link to a Facebook Live that I did earlier on, explaining explaining a lot of different things about COVID, the lockdown, the masks. I called it Life is a Masquerade, a peek behind the mask. But I don't know what to do now. I do have another channel that I do my activism, but it was basically where I used it to keep my videos, really. Although I do have a lot of lives on Facebook that I never managed to upload onto there. And thank you, Joel. God bless him. He watched all of those too. He asked me what my other channel was, and I told him. So we watched all of those too. God bless you, my love. And maybe I'm just going to have to do it there. Although it's not going to be long before YouTube, well, YouTube should be shutting me off there as much as Facebook, because I want to keep my activism away from my Mandela channel. My Mandela channel is my personal Mandela Effect. I don't share it on Facebook, and I don't have anything to do, the Mandela Effect have anything to do with my other activism channel, because I don't want the two massively different things. This is a very personal thing where I talk about how I feel personally about the things that are happening to me. My activism channel is all about my activism. It's not about me personally. There's nothing personal about me. And believe me, I want to keep it that way. I want to keep it that way because, I mean, the amount, don't get me wrong, it's like water off a duck's back, but the amount of death threats, rape threats, and all kinds of things that I get on my other activism channel, I don't want being Mandela affected to affect that in any way, shape, or form. So that's why I keep my personal things away from those sort of people. This is my if they happen to find me, you know, so what? I don't give a shit. That's not a problem. But I don't want to confuse the two channels, because this is me talking really, really personally about what I go through being Mandela affected. And believe me, the people that cause, you know, that say the things that they do, and what they wish upon me for what I do, they're the last people. They're not my people. They're the last people that I want to have any kind of knowledge about this and me, because this is personal. This is me personally, and that's me the activist. Me the activist has got the skin of a rhino. Me the person is a big girl's blouse. I'm just a wet arse. But when it comes to my activism, I care passionately about it, and I can cope with anything on that. But here, Mandela Effect, it triggers me, as a term that I learned from Brian. I get very triggered by anybody that has a go or disrespects the Mandela Effect and those of us that are affected, because reality is changing, whether they think it is or not. And I am me, whether I'm not in the same body that I was originally, but it's certainly not I am not a synthetic person, because I've been put into the same body that you've got. Why, if I was going to be a synthetic person, why wouldn't they have kept me in the original body, the original skull, with everything in the original place? Why would oh, you see, it goes far deeper, and that's what gets to me. They don't talk about the geography changes, the whole actual human body check. They don't talk about any of them things, because they don't give a shit. This is a person that is coming from a place of, oh, I'm a Christian and I know. Well, none of us know. None of us know. And the Mandela Effect, although it's shown us that there is a creator, and it's a real thing. None of us know what the creator is. None of us know what's going on. None of us know why it's happening. None of us really understand any of it. All we've got is theories and ideas, and we don't actually know. But yeah, I just totally feel like I've been abducted and brought to God knows what. And I haven't been online with this very much because, well, I've been dealing with real life, to be honest. Sorry, what's not real, Richard? I'm not sure what you mean. I've misunderstood, I think, somewhere along the line. It's the dream of the day with the dangerous people. Oh, yeah, they dream the dreams with their eyes open. Yeah. I mean, the general public, you know, the public at large, I don't like to call them sheeple, because we've all been asleep. We were all them once, you know. I've had 30 years of waking up, but my real awakenings have only come in the last 6 years. In the last 6 years, I got to really understand what's really happening and why. So, how we can expect to wake people up and have them understand the whole nuances of everything, and then the Mandela Effect. It's a lot. It's too much, which is why I want to keep the two channels completely separate. I don't want, and that's why I don't post it on Facebook about the Mandela Effect either, because I do my activism on Facebook. I do have a little bit, just a little bit of personal stuff from time to time, but in the main, it's always been about activism. So beautiful people. No, very little of what they say is normal. I don't. It's not normal to me at all. It scares me. The world that they think is normal, where there's 72 genders, where paedophilia is seen as a gender choice, where the sexualization of children is seen as empowering and feminism, where masturbation is being taught to 4 to 6-year-olds in primary schools. That's an evil world, and it's just come out the blue. That's not my world. It's not my reality. It's not where I come from. It happened. I used to think it happened overnight, but actually, like I said before, I've just been Googling it, and I found out that in this reality, Facebook gave 58 agenda options in 2014 in this reality. And it's like, what? What? Really? No, not where I come from. So, the thought of jumping through realities, sliding through dimensions in the 1990s when I was watching about it seemed really exciting. But in reality, reality changing, reality sliding is shit. It's not getting any better. There's no sign of it getting any better. The day you're born and the day... Damn, you're bloody good, you are. You've been saying really wise things to me tonight. Thank you so much. Prophecy with a C, Mandela Miles. Prophecy with an S. That doesn't even look right, does it? Nah. No. Yeah. I know. They don't. You're right, Richard. People do get very angered. They do. They do get very angered. Well, to be honest with you, Dana, my dreams have been very weird since I was a very small child. I've been having dreams of changes in the sky and all kinds of stuff for a very long time. So, yeah. But it just doesn't... We're not getting any more answers. We're not getting any closer to getting any more answers, would you? I just have... I don't understand. The world that I was in before, there was nothing like this. It wasn't evil. Paedophilia was absolutely outrageous. Nobody thought it was right. Whereas nowadays, you've got Facebook not taking down incest pages. I mean, what is that about? You've got what is it, Carolina? Was it Carolina or I think it was Carolina that decided that there can be 10 years difference between sexual partners, which means a 16-year-old can be with a 6-year-old, a 15-year-old can be with a 5-year-old, a 20-year-old can be with a 10-year-old. I mean, have you think about it? This is evil and vile. And we've been abducted from our place of calm and peace, in relative peace, and much more caring, compassionate, empathic people. than this monstrosity that we've been brought to. This feels more like a punishment. I feel like we're the ones being punished. Just by the fact that we have to see this shit. Never mind experience it, go through it, and have to kind of live with it. You know, it's, you know, I still find it fascinating and quite bizarre that I managed to go for, what, 4 years of seeing changes before I eventually found that what I was seeing was a real thing. So you can understand, I can understand why the vast majority of the world probably don't realise that the world's changing. They just shrug it. I was able to shrug it off until it got to the point where I saw something that I couldn't shrug it off anymore. Well, in fact, I got bombarded with things. In the end, that wasn't true. I got bombarded and then prayed again and then found our Brian Stavely. Thank God. And then Vanessa VA found me, and then you guys found me, and I'm much, much, much more healed than I was at the beginning. So even though this is a bit of a shit one, it's not very positive, is it? Sorry, it's not been a very positive one tonight, but I feel like I've been abducted, and I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. It's weird because throughout the years, you're thinking, bloody hell, that person's nothing like they used to be. They've completely and utterly changed. Now I know why, but it doesn't. They don't change back, or sometimes they do. No, in fact, sometimes they do. I've had a couple of friends that have totally changed back to who they were, but I've had some that have been my friend for over 30 years that are nothing like the person they used to be, and I can't be in their life anymore because of it. So, what? I know, I mean, people keep telling me what it says in the Bible about, be still and know that I am God. And I understand all that. I put all my trust in God. But I'm still a human being going through a really fucking weird situation with extra stuff going on. So bad in the world that I can't keep quiet about it, whilst trying to live in that ever-changing reality. How much are we supposed to cope with? I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm frightened of it anymore. I'm not really frightened of it anymore because we don't, in the main, we're not really being harmed as such. I mean, this has been going on since the end of 2014, the beginning of 2015, as far as I'm aware. Well, for me, it was in the 80s, obviously. I've told you that before, but when the big one hit and all this happened, that was when I first saw my first changes. Yeah, all that time I was able to shrug it off like it wasn't happening. All that time. And I could see things like, what's gone on? Where's all this hatred for Muslims come from? Because I'll be honest, in my reality, it wasn't like it is. It's suddenly, I was like, what's happened? Why has it gone crazy? It wasn't like this. How has it suddenly gone completely crazy with the world hating Muslims? It wasn't like this. But I didn't know about the Mandela Effect. Now I do. Now I do. Because in my reality, where I came from, the whole 9/11 thing hadn't made everybody go crazy about Islam and hate it and hate Muslims. And ISIS really weren't doing anything. They were a bunch of nobodies doing nothing in my reality. And then all of a sudden, you've got David Cameron giving it, it all changed, and it all changed horribly. And not just that, on many, many levels. Many levels. Loads changed. Loads. McDonald's changing from McDonald's to McDonald's was one of the first ones. And as I actually spend a lot of time outside McDonald's making videos to tell you to boycott McDonald's, I just accepted it. I just accepted it. How could I have done that? It's hard to believe I actually did that. Yeah, I did. Because how could reality really be changing? You don't think it's reality changing. You don't even begin to think that that's what it is. Although it does seem to have been a bit different for you Sagittarius guys. You all seem to realise pretty quickly that you'd all moved. It was very... Yeah, I'd like to know a bit more about that, actually. Your side of what you think happened and what alerted you to the Mandela Effect. Because by the time I'd found you all, you'd all been online for quite some time. So, yeah. So that's what the stamp is, Benjamin Franklin. Not the... Yeah, I've heard about the different Benjamin Franklin, yeah. Well, we didn't think we'd ever get alien communication in my old Orion either, because we thought that we were too far away from everything. Exactly the same, Richard. Exactly the same. You know, I mean, and no matter what, see, this is another thing. We all know we're from different parts of the Milky Way, yet we have so much of the same memories. We have lots of differences. We don't share the same reality at the same time. Reality, things that were in my reality weren't always in your always reality, and vice versa. What the fuck's that about? What does that mean? You know, it's all my life I searched for answers, and then the Mandela Effect comes along, and in a way that's an answer, but in a gazillion ways you're getting no answer at all. And I'm in dire need. I'm in dire need. I need to know what's going on. And like I know that there's another world coming. It talks about it in the Bible. It talks about it in the Hopi prophecy. It talks about the Mayans. In lots and lots of cultures, it talks about the fifth and forever world coming, the new world that's coming. Well, we know a new world's coming because our world is changing on a regular basis. I don't think there are any of us whose country or county hasn't changed. Can be hardly any of us now that haven't, that can say, oh no, my country's exactly the same way as it used to be. Because the world's changed that much. It looks deformed. It looks weird. I mean, North America and Canada just looks ridiculous now. It looks ridiculous. It looks nothing like it should. So that's the world physically changing. So we know that we're going to a new world. It's shit. And why? When we had our understanding of what end times would be like in our old worlds, where it was much nicer. Why? I expected end time to happen in my old world, not this. I think is the point I'm trying to make. In fact, that is the point I'm trying to make. It's different dealing with end times in a changed reality. That's what I mean, I think. Okay, guys, it's like it's nearly 3 in the morning for me, and I'm going to have to try and sleep. So I'm going to bring this to a close for now. As it is, tomorrow at 9 p.m, which is British summertime, I'm going to be on with System Failure. So I hope you can join me live on System Failure, because we've got loads to talk about. The London protests, the COVID situation, residue, my forever changing surroundings, and all kinds of stuff. It's always going to be very lively when we've got our lovely Mark, System Failure, on the go. So I'm very lucky to be joining him tomorrow night live. I do hope that you get to. Thank you, Dana. I appreciate that. Yeah, the sun and the moon have been very weird lately. Very, very weird. I actually, NASA, and I don't believe NASA, but NASA themselves said there is no such thing as a blood moon. It doesn't even go pink. It's just creamish. And I saw a blood red moon. But then I know about Nibiru. So Nibiru, Wormwood, same thing, same difference. Okay, so I'm going to love you and leave you for now, guys, because I really do need to try and get some sleep. So, all my love till next time.